If you're looking for inspiration to level up your health and fitness routines, this episode's for you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Always Active podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and in today's episode, I'll be sharing my daily and weekly health and fitness routines, including my hybrid training workout split, meal prep routine, and healthy habits, along with strategies that help me to actually prioritize my health and fitness goals with a busy schedule. So, without further ado, let's get psyched to move. The foundation for all of my health and fitness routines really is my weekly Sunday reset. And this includes my weekly planning where I update my recurring Google Calendar time blocks. So I have time blocks set in my Google Calendar for what my ideal week would look like in terms of where all my work, health and fitness, and life commitments would fit. And during this time, I update my time blocks for that particular week because every week is a little bit different. And I do this for all of the different areas of my life, and it also involves reaching out to people who I have plans with for that week to confirm our plans, what we'll be doing, and when we'll be doing it. And within this weekly planning for my entire life, this also includes my health specific planning, which I'll get into more later. But at a high level, this includes my workout planning as well as my meal planning. And when I do this weekly planning, this is really just meant to provide a rough outline and then I'll adjust as needed throughout the week. I don't think I've ever completed this weekly planning and then followed my plan to a T because inevitably things come up. Maybe I get ahead in some areas, fall behind in others, plans change. But this helps to ensure that I have a rough idea for when all of the different things in my life will be occurring during this upcoming week. And this weekly reset is really important because it helps to set a clear plan. So that way I'm doing all of the thinking up front, and then when the time comes, I just take action throughout the week. Every week is a little bit different in terms of things like my work commitments, meetings, appointments, and social plans. And by doing this weekly planning, it helps me to ensure that I can prioritize my health and fitness within all of these other life commitments, ensuring that my health and fitness priorities are planned around my life rather than planning my life around my health and fitness goals. This weekly reset ritual is something that I've spent the past several years developing and refining, and it's gotten to the point where if I don't do this weekly reset, which rarely happens, but if I don't do it, I feel way less in control of my week. I don't feel like I have a clear intention set, and because of that, I actually really look forward to planning my week. It's fun to play around with the time blocks, to confirm all my plans, to make sure all of my meetings are set and ready to go. So I encourage you to consider taking this weekly planning approach and do so in a way that you will actually look forward to and enjoy the process. Moving on to my current hybrid training workout split. This is something else that I've spent years developing and tweaking over time, and my workout split really does change depending on the season of life that I'm currently in. And it's also different every week, which is why it's important that I make sure I plan my workouts within my weekly planning. For my current workout split, I follow a hybrid training approach, which, if you're not familiar with this term, it really just refers to combining both strength and endurance activities into your routine. And if you'd like more information about hybrid training specifically, be sure to listen to episode 14, which is my ultimate hybrid training guide. My current hybrid training split includes 5 high-intensity workouts, 2 low-intensity workouts, and 1 rest day on a typical week. For the high-intensity workouts, this includes 1 cardio day. So currently, because it is the summer, I'm playing soccer once a week, so that checks my box for cardio. It also includes 3 strength training workouts. I'm currently following a program on the Ladder app. And within these 3 strength training days, I do 2 lower body days at the gym and 1 upper body day at home. Another episode plug, be sure to listen to episode 27, which is my Ladder app review, where I share all the information you need about the current program that I'm following. And then my 5th high intensity workout is a miscellaneous workout of some sort. So this is different every single week, and I pick it more intuitively based on how I'm feeling, but it's usually some sort of YouTube video that I do at home, either a strength workout or a Pilates workout. And then sometimes it's a group fitness class of some sort. So those are my 5 high intensity workouts. Then I also include 2 lower intensity workouts, which consistently includes 1 yoga workout and then 1 workout that is either golf or pickleball. It kind of just depends on the week and if I have plans with someone to play pickleball or golf. And because these workouts are lower intensity, I can combine them into the same day that I did one of my higher intensity workouts. So let's say I had a day where I did a lower body strength workout, but then I also had plans to play pickleball, I would do both in the same day. And then I also consistently include at least one rest day per week. And this is really important to both support recovery and then also just give myself both a mental and physical break from my workouts. I am quite active, so having this one day to completely free up my schedule and not have to include a workout is really helpful, both mentally and physically. And then finally, I try to include walking, stretching, and mobility wherever I can throughout the week. I try as best as I can to do mobility before my workouts and stretching after my workouts, but this probably only happens a couple times a week. And then in terms of my walks, I usually like to get these in at some point in the evening. And again, it's not every single day, but it's just something that I like to do as many times as I can throughout the week whenever I have time. Just a quick 30-minute walk. So that's what my routine looks like, but your routine probably will look completely different from mine based on your current goals and life schedule. And so if you're interested in creating your own hybrid training workout split, be sure to download my free hybrid training guide, which will be linked below in the description. My current workout split is important to me because it helps to support my current fitness goals, which include building muscle and prioritizing my overall health. And I enjoy hybrid training specifically because it helps to include variety in my routine so that I look forward to my workouts. It also helps to improve my overall fitness and performance. And of course, it's very in line with my philosophy on training, which is including all of the different ways of being active to fuel a sustainable active lifestyle. Next, my weekly meal prep routine. Like I mentioned before, this is part of my weekly reset, and it all starts with meal planning. I spend about 30 minutes to an hour on a Sunday planning out the meals that I'll be having throughout the week. Meal planning is something that I've struggled with for years, but a resource that's been really helpful to support my meal planning has been using ChatGPT for meal ideas and recipes. And I like to pick recipes that are simple, quick, and prioritize protein, healthy fats, and fiber. I won't dive into my specific meals in this episode, but I will create a future episode sharing all of my favorite healthy recipes. Once I've planned out my meals, I create a grocery list, which includes both the ingredients for the specific meals I'll be making that week, as well as restocks for my grocery staples. And then once this list is compiled, I will place my grocery orders. Ordering groceries rather than grocery shopping in person is something that I've been doing for the past several years, and it's actually been a time-saving game changer. It makes life so much easier versus having to go to the store, walk around the store, and shop. Instead, I either get my groceries delivered straight to my door, or I'll place a grocery order pickup where you drive to the store and they load the groceries into your car. And this is just a really great way to save time if you have a busy schedule. Maybe if you don't enjoy the process of grocery shopping, I personally find it to be way more efficient, and you can do it either for free or at a very low cost. And then the final step of my meal planning routine is planning out my meal prep days. So during my weekly reset, I look at my calendar and I pick out the days that I will be doing my meal prep. If I don't do this, I won't meal prep, and then I'll just struggle to make food throughout the week. So by intentionally planning out the days that I am going to dedicate to cooking, it helps to set me up for success throughout the week. Then we move on to the actual meal prepping part. So once I've picked up my grocery orders, restocked my fridge, then I do 2 to 3, 1.5 to 2 hour meal prepping sessions throughout the week. And this 1.5 to 2 hours includes prepping the meal, eating, and cleaning up. And the approach that I like to follow isn't what I've traditionally heard considered as meal prep, but it involves batch cooking my current meal that I'll be eating. So let's say I'm having quinoa, ground beef, and broccoli for dinner. I know, not very exciting, but that's the reality of what I eat. I'll not only prep the meal that I'm eating for that particular night, I'll also prep a huge batch of it, so that way I'll have leftovers throughout the week that I can eat for either lunches or dinners. And this works for me because I don't personally need to have a different meal every single day. I'm totally fine with eating the same meal all throughout the week. And since I'm already taking the time to cook this meal, I might as well make it in excess. It doesn't make it any harder or take any longer. That way I will have myself set up for success throughout the week and I won't have to cook again later on. So that way I'll have a bunch of leftovers that I can use for future meals. And if I have too many leftovers, I'll even freeze them, which is one of the nicest gifts that I can give to my future self. On a day when I'm super busy and I don't have any food prepped in the fridge, if I have a meal that I've already prepped in the freezer, it makes life so much easier. And I know the strategy that I follow is repetitive. It doesn't include a ton of variety of meals throughout the week, but it's time efficient. And for me, that's a personal priority. My meal prep routine is essential because personally, the nutrition part of a healthy lifestyle is something that I've always struggled with. That has always been the hardest part for me. Working out is easy. Cooking and eating healthy, balanced meals has always been the most difficult part. So by meal prepping, it makes it easier for me to make healthy decisions, and my future self always appreciates the work that I put in. And healthy eating is important to me because it helps me to be the best version of myself. I feel that I have improved mood and energy levels, and of course, it helps to fuel my workouts. If you're enjoying this episode, I would appreciate if you could please follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so that you don't miss future episodes. And as always, thank you so much for your support. Moving on to my morning routine. This routine starts at 7 a.m. It lasts about an hour and a half, and it consists of a few simple habits. Starting with drinking some water. I don't chug a ton of water, but I at least take a few sips to get myself hydrated first thing in the morning. I'll then prepare a healthy, high-protein breakfast. My go-to breakfast is a yogurt bowl with a decaf herbal tea. This is the breakfast that I've been eating for the past several months now, probably close to a year. And by having the same breakfast every morning, it really just helps to simplify my routine. Sometimes I'll change it up, but for the most part, I just make my yogurt bowl and tea on autopilot. Then I'll take my supplements with my meal. Then while I'm drinking my tea, I will time block out my day and create my to-do list. So I already time blocked at the beginning of the week during my Sunday reset, but every morning I go in and update my time blocks because inevitably things have probably changed since Sunday. So I need to tweak some things a little bit, and then I'll create my to-do list just to get things in order before I start my day. Then I'll brush my teeth. I'll do my super simple skincare routine, which is usually just washing my face, but if I want to add some extra steps in, I'll also do a vitamin C serum and apply some moisturizer. Then I'll make my bed, get dressed for the day, and then if I have a few extra minutes, I'll also do my 5-minute journal. I established this morning routine using the Apple Reminders app on my iPad. I just had a little checkbox for every different task along with an emoji next to it. But now that I've had this routine established for several months, I really just do it on autopilot without having to think about it or check off every single item. As you can see, this routine is extremely simple because realistically, I don't have all the time in the world to do an elaborate morning routine. So by doing these simple habits, which are tied to different areas of my life, including my health, wellness, and fitness, it helps to set me up for success to start my workday with clarity, focus, and energy, which really is my priority. Moving on to my night routine, I like to start winding down around 9 p.m. and then my routine is about an hour and a half long once again. And no surprise, this also consists of simple habits. I'll start off with an evening snack of some sort. Currently, my go-to evening snack is making baked oats. I've been experimenting with a bunch of different variations of that, but I will say that my evening snack really does fluctuate depending on the season. I'll kind of just fixate on one snack and make it every single night. In the past, it's been hot chocolate, protein rice cakes, an apple with almond butter. Those are just some that come to mind, and as you can see, they are all sweet treats because I definitely have a sweet tooth. After I have my snack, I will brush my teeth. I complete my skincare routine, which consists of a toner and a moisturizer. Then I try to stretch for about 10 minutes. I'm going to be honest, this is something that I was much more consistent with back in the winter and spring. I've fallen off with this during the summer, but it's something that I want to get back on track with. Then I'll quickly complete the evening prompts for my 5-minute journal. I'll set my alarm for the next day and then lights out. And once again, I established these habits by using the Apple Reminders app on my iPad. But at this point, now that these habits are established, they are on autopilot. And so I can run through my night routine without having to think about it. Again, this night routine is extremely simple. I don't do anything fancy, and it's all with the intention to help me wind down, ensure that I'm able to wake up at 7 a.m. the next morning by reverse engineering my bedtime, and get around 8 hours of sleep, which is absolutely essential for both my energy levels and recovery. In this final section, I'm sharing any other healthy habits that I haven't mentioned already in my morning or my night routine. These are the habits that occur throughout the rest of the day. And I try to complete these almost daily, but at the very least a few times throughout the week. In terms of my fitness related habits, I like to work out every day with the exception of that one rest day that I mentioned before. And then I try to walk and stretch as many times as I can throughout the week. My nutrition habits include cooking meals at home, aiming to drink at least 2 liters of water throughout the day, which is something that I'm not currently tracking, but I was tracking while I was doing 75 soft, and I've tried as best as I can to maintain this habit. Another habit is delaying my caffeine intake. So you'll notice I mentioned I have a decaf tea in the morning. That's because I don't drink my coffee until later in the afternoon. And I find that personally, I have pretty high energy levels in the morning, but it's usually around the afternoon time that I experience a crash. So that's when I drink my coffee as a little bit of a pick-me-up. I try not to have it too late in the day, usually around 1 o'clock, so that way it doesn't disrupt my sleep. But I find that this habit actually really works for me. I also aim to follow a whole foods, high protein diet, and I really try to limit consuming alcohol, sweets, and processed foods so that it's only taking place in social settings. And even then, I try to limit it as well. But if I'm at home on a regular day, I will not be consuming these things. And then for my wellness related habits, one thing I like to do is complete a bonus self-care task every day. These are things that you wouldn't do every single day. Things like doing a hair mask or a face mask or exfoliating. It would be impossible to do those every single day, but I try to do at least one of those every day. Another habit is listening to uplifting podcasts. I consume podcasts pretty much daily, and so I really try to curate my podcast subscription feed to be content that is positive, uplifting, and educational. I also delete Instagram off my phone every single night. That is, if I even downloaded it in the first place. A lot of days I'll go without even downloading it onto my phone. But if I did download it at some point onto my phone, I always make sure to delete it before I go to sleep. So that way it's not on my phone when I wake up in the morning. And then another habit, this is something that I established during 75 Soft as well, is cleaning or tidying for at least 10 minutes every day. By doing these little cleaning sessions throughout the week, it helps my space to stay tidy without needing to do a very extensive clean every day. By doing these simple habits, it helps me to feel my best and it really contributes to my overall healthy lifestyle. These small actions really do cumulatively have a big impact. And I truly believe that these simple habits are essential to help us achieve our larger health and fitness goals. And at this point, after years of developing these habits, many of them come as second nature and I'm quite consistent with them. And of course, today I just mentioned the habits that I actually follow. Over the years, I've put in a lot of effort to developing my current habits and routines, and I'm really happy with the progress I've made. Of course, there are tons of other habits that I would like to implement into my routine, but for the time being, I'm pretty content with the habits that I have established. To wrap things up, I asked you over on Instagram at all.ways.active, what's one healthy habit or routine that you swear by? And the answers were steps, always choose water, walking every day and getting proper quality sleep, and drinking enough water and getting enough sleep. So lots of recurring themes there, things like staying hydrated, getting in your daily movement, getting in proper sleep, and all things that I touched on throughout the episode. So it's great to see that the Always Active community really is aligned when it comes to the habits that really matter to them and move the needle. You'll notice these are all simple habits. It's nothing too out of the ordinary, nothing too time consuming, but it really is these small changes that have the biggest impact on how we feel. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope it gave you inspiration for your own routines. Please be sure to leave a rating or a thumbs up wherever you're listening. And if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, leave a comment below sharing one healthy habit or routine that you swear by. And with that, I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.